I'm your huckleberry.
I'm telling you straight. It's my way or the highway. So anybody wants to walk, do it now.
Call me Snake.
Hail to the king, baby.
Groovy. Groovy. Groovy.
Beef jerky?
No, no, son, thank you very much. No, it gives me the wind, something terrible.
Oh.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Geez, you're real nice. If I didn't have puke breath, I'd kiss you.
Nice. Nice. Not thrilling, but nice.
Did have shade. Leon's getting larger.
Looking around here, I can tell you're a genuinely dirty person.
I never thought anybody could forget so much so fast without a severe blow to the head.
All right, hit the like. I am here. I love you guys suddenly discovering blue sky. Look at that. I feel like I'm doing my part. And it's just gotten even cooler. Hold on 1 second. Let me jump straight in. I'm just gonna, these days, I'm just gonna jump straight into the chat room. Let you guys just come straight in. Audio's on, everything's good. I'm Hal Sparks. This is the greatest live stream in the history of all live streams. Hal Sparks, Megaworldwide. I am Hal Sparks, the most Hal Sparks you'll ever Hal Sparks in your whole Hal Sparks in life. Now, hit that like, share the show, annoy the living shit out of the maggots who are looking for a meltdown and aren't going to get it. Because if there's anything that, if there's an ever-flowing spring in the world of Trumpdom, it's the Schadenfreude River that this asshole cannot stop digging a hole and jumping into it. And I don't know why anybody thinks that will change now that he's won a second term. And by the way, I feel like I've done my part over the last little bit. Sorry, I have something in my pocket. Where was that? Why was that in there the whole time? By the way, for the record, my Halloween costume this year was really awesome. It was I played the part of a true crime character, and all I did was answer the door in regular street clothes, holding a hammer that had blood all over the end of it. And I would just go, "What?" It worked very well. I'm just saying, it's the easiest. I recommend it. I wouldn't use a real knife because that will freak people out, but somehow a hammer was fine. And so when kids would come to trick or treat, I would pick one out of each kid, like each group of kids, and I would pick one kid out, and I'd be like, "No bunnies! I said no bunnies!" You know, and then the next kid would come up, and I was like, "Witches! Why are there witches on my porch again?" I thought I got rid of them. It's great. It's a great way to solve that. I'm just saying, put that in your pack for next year. I'm always helping. And for those of you that have been jumping on the Blue Sky bandwagon, and I love you for it, and thank you very much, I'd like to point out something, if I may, that our dear friend Seth Abramson, who's over at Blue Sky, is pointing out that Twitter user numbers have declined significantly over the last year, falling especially steeply in the UK. And look at this. Look at this right now. Look, this is September to October to November, like since the election. Kapow. Kapow. And we are going to keep that going. Ladies and gentlemen, my goal is to get it to this little number right here. It's at 70. I wanted to get it to 60. Let's just, hey, funky baby steps. This is what we're going to do. Understand that. Blue Sky's a lot of fun. And again, people are like, well, they can come over and treat you like shit over there. Yeah, but Elon Musk can't make money off of it. So I'm fine with that. You see what I mean? Even if we steal the maggots and they come over to harass and waste time, it's still not interaction that's happening on his site, which drives down ad rev. Do you understand? There's value. So here we go. This is a really cool thing. Also, I want to show you that now my handle on here is at halsparks.com, my own website. I have my own verified. This is the real deal. halsparks.com. You have to verify through a website and if you own your own URL, you can do that. And you can have your name be that URL. So if any of you have like Bob Cesca, he has his website is bobcesca.com, that kind of thing. If you have that, you can link it to your Blue Sky, which is also all the Mastodon stuff, and your handle across all of them will be your main website name. It's just really good branding, and it's a very smart thing for people who might get impersonated and they don't have a verification thing. So there you go. Just letting you know. 1,100 likes in 7 minutes. I think we can kill it. I think we can get up to 5,000 today because I think you're going to like me after today, even if you've decided not to. But first of all, I want to say welcome to the chat and all that stuff. And I want to... okay. Right now, I'm on the lookout for videos of what Trump's actually doing. Okay, and Johnny Million rated us too. Can I just say, Johnny Million, can we get Johnny Million on Blue Sky right away? And then we'll get him JohnnyMillion.com and we'll get him his own proprietary thing and we'll have it linked to his site. And can we do that? Johnny, are you here? Do you hear me? Reach out. I will help you do it. Also, Texas Paul, Boston Brian, any of you guys who have that kind of stuff, I will gladly Rob Glenn your way through it. And help you set it up, okay? Yes. Johnny's on Blue Sky. We'll get him on we'll get his own, like, proprietary kid thingy, okay? So that's excellent. Thank you, Andrea. Create a Patreon starter pack. That's a great idea. That is a great idea, Doc Spano. Should that be people, like, I should have a starter pack of my favorite people who are my Patreons, like the top, 50 Patreons that I have that are on there. We'll do that. But also other people that you can help through Patreon. People who are, part of that crowd that, are going to need it over the next little bit. Okay. So lots to talk about. Now, one of the things I've been looking for, and CSL and I will be on the lookout for them. They're a little hard to come by because the Trump org is being relatively close to the chest about them, or some of them are just old videos that are coming up. And I'll show you what I mean. And I apologize for the Glenn Beck part of this, but it is a very minor aspect of what you will be seeing, okay? So don't get too panicked on this, because whatever. He's a little gross right out of the beginning, but I just did it for the video that they're posting, not so much their commentary on it, if that makes sense. Here we go. So, by the way, hit that like. It's Hal Sparks, Megaworldwide, the greatest live stream in the history of live streams. I'm Hal Sparks. Now, Glenn's a dipshit, and that will never change, and this guy's a wreck, and that's getting worse. I gotta say, I don't know how you watch videos of Trump now, especially the ones that he's putting out that are leading up to the administration, and don't think he's in physical fucking pain. I mean this. You'll see what I mean. He's... Like I said, it wasn't going to get any better. And I swear to God, our biggest concern right now, ladies and gentlemen, is number 48. That's right. J.D. Vance as an incumbent president going into the next round of I don't know when it happens, but it's happening. It's happening. There's no fucking way. And again, the only way it doesn't, if they decide to strategically just wheel him around in a chair like Admiral Pike in Star Trek, because woof. You'll see what I mean. Okay, here we go. Hit the like, share, subscribe, and make sure the maggots know we're here, because again, the exact tactic I am using to undermine Twitter, which will be successful, I will be dominant, I will win, is the exact same, the inversion of that technique I'm trying to use to boost my own channel. So maggots and trolls, welcome. Thank you for being here. You have no power here. Our people are really resilient and have a good time. And I don't melt down. It's not how it works here. So come here and understand that I am the good witch of the north. As far as you have no power here. Now go away before someone drops the house on you. So here we go.
Stu, this is like constitutional porn. I just want to warn you. You might hear some sexy music in your own head. You might be like, oh, yeah, ding dong, pizza delivery. You might hear that.
I don't I don't know why Glenn orders his pizza from Ding Dong Pizza, but it does sound like Stu enjoys a good Ding Dong Pizza once in a while.
This is the most amazing thing I have heard any president ever say.
Okay, this should be a big sign that what we're about to hear is absolute shit and is the exact opposite of what he thinks is. I guess the ramifications of it are going to be the exact opposite of what he thinks is going to happen. You'll see what I mean in a second. But this asshole thinks this is the greatest thing he's ever heard from a president ever.
This is Donald Trump.
That's quite a standard.
Just, I want you to make a list, okay? Just when he says, "Oh, and I'm going to do this," just make a list, okay? This is his plan to end the censorship cartel.
Okay, so the censorship cartel is what they're calling it now. This is the censorship industrial complex, which is what this is his new brand for it, the censorship cartel. He's also released a video where he's going to attack the cartels and kill every leader of every cartel and declare war on them like ISIS and stuff like that, which is knock yourself out, buddy. But which is going to upset a lot of his richer friends who have side businesses in that world. We'll talk about that when that comes up. But they're calling it the censorship cartel now.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country.
That's right. And that's why, because I believe in freedom, fuck you, you orange piece of shit. You lame, tired, sad, deflated, old orange scrote sack of a piece of shit. Period. Yes, that's right, Donald. And by the way, I'm calling him Donald now. I am not using his last name because he apparently hates being called Donald. That's good enough for me. Like, that's all the reason I need in the whole world. So.
It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple, just like dominoes, one by one. They'll go down.
That's how dominoes go.
That's why today I'm announcing my plan to shatter the left-wing censorship regime.
Okay, they spelled it properly in the giant TikTok words underneath it. He said regime. Okay, this he's got a good run on it. He's excited. This is take number 75. He feels okay. Watch this.
And to reclaim the right to free speech for all Americans. And reclaim is a very important word in this case because they've taken it away.
Well, I'd like to say, if I may, that the biggest word for me is all. That's right, because it should be abundantly clear that Twitter specifically is throttling left-leaning content right now and has been for quite some time. So keep that in mind when he starts going into this horse shit. Okay.
In recent weeks, bombshell reports have confirmed that a sinister group of deep state bureaucrats, Silicon Valley tyrants, left-wing activists, and depraved corporate news media.
Why does it? All right. Every so often, there's a moment where it feels like someone is like shoving a hot poker up his ass. Certain words, I don't know what it is. Like, you'll see what I mean. Watch.
Left-wing activists and depraved corporate news media.
And I also, that's Glenn laughing in the background, by the way.
Left-wing activists and depraved corporate news media have been conspiring to manipulate and silence the American people.
He's like, pull it out. Look, there should be a generalized rule. Maybe it's a Mar-a-Lago rule. If it's not, it should be at least a guideline. No one off camera can play just the tip with Trump while he's trying to talk. It's first of all, it's going to be a mess down there anyways. But from this point forward, I think he gets out like half a sentence without looking like he's actually pooping.
They have collaborated to suppress vital information on everything from elections to public health. The censorship cartel must be dismantled and destroyed and it must happen immediately. And here's my plan.
Okay, here it comes. The immediate dismantling of something that doesn't exist anyways. Well, my job is done here. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but I have a plan to eliminate from my neighborhood all the demonic pixies who keep throwing kumquats into my neighbor's yard. It's done. Isn't it amazing? You can. I don't know if you know this, but you can raise your success rate on a lot of things, statistically especially. You can raise your success rate by just making up shit that isn't happening, and then wow, on day one it's gone. They'll put together like panels or whatever, like committees to go over this stuff, and they'll have hearings and yell at some people. It won't amount to a hill of beans any more than it did last year. The Republicans have been running the House anyways. They've been having all these, censorship industrial complex conversations, and it hasn't ever amounted to shit. It hasn't done anything. And watch how he hedges on some of this stuff. I'll show you too.
First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person.
That would, I guess, include the White House. I'm just kidding you. He thinks it doesn't apply to him.
To censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if I may, what do you think the chances are that he individually violates every single standard of that particular executive order legally immediately, within at least within 24 hours, that he'll cross that line that he drew himself? What do you think? Yeah.
I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as
by the way, domestic speech
or disinformation. And I will begin the process of identifying and firing every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship.
Right, except the people that will be, I mean, you're going to give a couple of the people you just hired a grace period because that's their entire fucking gig. By the way, Stephen Miller and all these other assholes will make phone calls that will violate this within 72 hours of them being in office because they won't like something that came out. Just understand that. Okay.
Directly or indirectly, whether they are
directly or indirectly.
The Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health, Human Services, the FBI, the DOJ, no matter who they are. Second, I will order.
Again, yes, your DOJ, your FBI, they weren't doing it in the first place, so they're not going to be doing it. Again, it's a fucking fantasy. But he wants to be able to do it, is the irony. It's like, I mean, he's going to... Chrissy Teigen, I think, is the only person that he actively, called Twitter. The White House, when Trump was president, called Twitter and said, take down her post. She called him a pussy-ass bitch, and he called and said, do this. That he's going to do that again. He's going to do it again.
The Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in the new online censorship regime.
The new, is it all new?
Which is absolutely destructive and terrible.
It is. It's absolutely destructive and terrible. Thank you for making that point.
And to aggressively prosecute any and all crimes identified.
Of which there will be none, because even making a suggestion about something, going, hey, you guys might want to look out. There's accounts on Twitter that are engaged in human trafficking. No, you can't tell them that. They have to find out on their own.
These include possible violations of federal civil rights law, campaign finance laws, federal election law, securities law. And
I know what you're thinking. You're like, wait, is he going to go back to the last year of his presidency and just throw himself out of office? What are you going to do? Impeach yourself, asshole?
Antitrust laws, the Hatch Act, and a host of other potential criminal, civil, regulatory, and constitutional offenses.
Also, I guess Kellyanne Conway, good luck in prison.
To assist in these efforts, I am urging House Republicans
Can't even keep up
to
with it.
immediately send preservation letters. And we have
hold on. He said preservation lettuce.
Republicans
Can't even keep up
to
with it.
immediately send preservation letters. And we
Yeah, preservation lettuce. That's how long this the head of lettuce rule will be, how long any of this stuff holds up.
have to do this right now.
Yes, I agree. Both campaigns should have to send preservation. You should send preservation letters to both campaigns, saying that both of them have to send all of their emails and correspondence with any social media platform, right? And either one of you, no, all right.
To the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, and every Silicon Valley tech giant, or
Okay, again, what Silicon Valley tech giant? So you're trying to let Elon Musk off the hook by saying he lives in Texas now?
ordering them not to destroy evidence of censorship.
Okay. There is none. I love preservation lettuce as well.
Third, upon my inauguration as president, I will ask Congress to send a bill to my desk revising Section 230 to get big online platforms out of censorship business.
Out of the censorship business, out of censorship business.
From now on, digital platforms should only qualify for immunity protection under Section 230 if they meet high standards of neutrality.
Okay, so I guess what is it? Elon's going to sell Twitter now?
Transparency, fairness.
Ooh, transparency and fairness. Oh, so wait a minute. Hold on a second. This is new. They should only qualify for 230 if they maintain high levels of neutrality, transparency, and fairness. So you're going to sue X out of existence then?
230 if they meet high standards of neutrality, transparency, fairness, and non-discrimination.
Okay, so Jesus Christ. So X is doomed, I guess.
We should require these platforms to increase their efforts to take down unlawful content such as child exploitation.
Why does that hurt for you to say child exploitation? We should. Oh, why does it every time I say we should focus on child exploit? I can't even get the words out.
And promoting terrorism while dramatically curtailing their power to arbitrarily restrict lawful speech.
Right, but if lawful speech is really only domestic speech, then how will we know? Unless you put in place something that says this is definitely an American, and you'll have to identify the people that accounts are being pushed or suppressed, that the site itself has to be able to verify where they're from and that they are genuinely American citizens or living here as permanent residents under American law, right? So fuck anything that comes from overseas, right? Right?
Fourth, we need to break up the entire toxic censorship industry that has arisen under the false guise of tackling so-called myths and disinformation.
Myths, and disinformation.
The federal government should immediately stop funding all nonprofits and academic programs that
speak Russian. It's fucking up my plans for next time.
Support this authoritarian project. If any U.S. university is discovered to have engaged in censorship activities or election interferences in the past, such as flagging social media content for removal of blacklisting, those universities should...
For removal of blacklisting? So they're trying to remove the fact that they were blacklisted? What?
Lose federal research dollars and federal student loan support for a period of 5 years and maybe more.
And maybe more.
We should also enact new law.
Wait. So if Liberty University starts trying to, censor other religions or women's rights groups or women just speaking openly about the rights they want to have, let's say there are women on Liberty University's campus who have, Facebook pages or Twitter accounts or whatever, or they're on Blue Sky, and they post stuff about how they should have abortion rights, and Liberty University shuts down those things. So Liberty University is going to get their grants snatched away. Is that how it's going to work? I'm just trying to keep up. I'm just trying to keep track, because it looks like, again, this is like the last year of the first Trump presidency, where all the shit that they said they would complain about Biden doing was stuff that happened under him. Right.
Was laying out clear criminal penalties for federal bureaucrats who partner with private entities to do an end run around the Constitution.
Right. Okay. So your entire cabinet is going to jail now? Is that what it is? Honest to God. Like, are they all sitting there going, no, you can't sign something like that? Who thinks that EO he's going to sign, that executive order, is going to be a little loosey-goosey on the techno speak, on the legalities?
And deprive Americans of their First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights. In other words, deprive them of their vote. And once you lose those elections, and once you lose your borders like we have, you no longer have a country.
Okay, now he's defaulting back into campaign speech.
Furthermore, to confront the problems of...
I love when they put furthermore in his teleprompter.
Major platforms being infiltrated by legions of former deep staters and intelligence officials.
Yeah. So what happens? They all leave the former federal employees just flooding into making bot accounts on X. Is that what this is?
There should be a 7-year cooling off period before any
cooling off period. Call it off. I'm calling it off. I'm calling off whether I care about you cooling off.
Any employee of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DNI, DHS, or DOD is allowed to take a job at a company possessing vast quantities of U.S. user data.
U.S. user data. So you can't hire any of these assholes to, well, I mean, I guess Truth Social doesn't count because it's not exactly vast quantities.
A company possessing vast quantities of U.S. user data. Fifth, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. This should include a right to digital due process. In other words, government officials should need a court order to take down online content.
Right. So the cartels and the human traffickers and anybody who is engaged in fraud has to wait until they have enough evidence to do it. And if you do it through a U.S. proxy LLC in real estate, you could basically scam everybody's life savings away in the time it takes them to get a digital warrant because you assholes will slow walk it. Brilliant.
Not send information requests such as the FBI was sending to Twitter.
You mean about serial killers and people who are trying to get kids to get into vans and shit like that? They should, yeah. So the FBI shouldn't be reaching out to do that kind of stuff, I guess.
Furthermore, when users of big online platforms have their content or accounts removed, throttled, shadow banned, or otherwise restricted.
That's weird because Twitter just sent me a notice that one of my posts had been throttled. It limited my actual, it sent me an email for it. I wish I'm on a PC or I'd bring up the email itself. I'll post it online on my Blue Sky account. But I got a message you only have limited use of your account right now because of something I posted about Trump's immigration policy.
No matter what name they
This is a week and a half ago.
Use. They should have the right to be informed that it's happening.
So that they can pull up stakes and move and try to avoid getting arrested or hide where the money is coming from.
The right to a specific explanation of the reason why.
Okay, I'm for that. Wait till that gets me and other people like me put back on YouTube faster and why the guys that you like get kicked off quicker.
And the right to a timely appeal.
Why? Again, he's still shitting. Watch this.
Explanation of the reason why and the right to a timely appeal. In addition, all users over the age of 18 should have the right to opt out of content moderation and curation entirely.
And by the way, you do realize you have that on Blue Sky already. You can turn it. You can turn like the not safe for work element of it completely off. And the other thing is like, you should have the right to be bullied, is what he's saying. You should make those switches to turn the moderation on automatically off, and then you can like have a hard time finding a way to turn them off so that stalkers can find you and people can harass you and bullying can fly. I mean, and again, everybody. We're all getting off of shitter. I downloaded my stuff. It's all 9 gigabytes of shit that I posted on Twitter, and the entire time I've been on there has been downloading this afternoon. And once it is, I can open up the actual zip file, and it actually is still in there, and it works, and it's got all my stuff. I'm done. I'm curious if anybody chat room. And this might be a question for AI, and I might have to talk to Rob Glenn about this, but I'm looking for a way that you can post images on Twitter that are the maximum resolution as far as hard drive space those pictures can take, but it's all hash. So you could, like, for 10 days straight, post a bunch of pictures that are like 1 gig image files that are all just snow. It's a thought. I've been toying with a lot of things lately. I know it's petty, but it's hilarious. Okay, anyways, back to where we were. This is sweaty monkey.
And receive an unmanipulated stream of information if they so choose.
And they have to opt into stopping the bullying, and you got to go 3 fucking menus down to find the off switch.
The fight for free speech is a matter of victory or death for America. And for the survival of Western civilization itself. When I am president, this whole rotten system of censorship and information control will be ripped out of the system at large.
Again, these pixies that have been bothering all of you and stinging you on the back of the neck, and they don't leave marks, so you can't really see them, but it is happening. I will end it on day 1.
There won't be anything left. By restoring free speech, we'll begin to reclaim our democracy and save our nation. Thank you, and God bless America.
Wow.
Yes, wow. His entire cabinet is going to jail. I'm kidding. He'll have like this rotating toilet paper of like roll of pardons that'll give everybody so they can just violate all that shit left and right. Just like who needs their pardon this week? Who did what? Who violated 9 or more elements? That's the rule. You only get a pardon if you violate all 10 elements of my executive order on free speech.
I mean, that is the first thing that strikes me on that is just how different it was than 2016. That's not a guy who's just like walking in. I don't know. Who should we pick? Like that's somebody who has a plan.
That's a guy who has somebody writing this shit out for him.
That's one of the exciting things is this is so detailed. Even just what he said, you know, there's much more than this behind each one of these.
Yeah. And by the way, we don't have to watch these assholes chat room. I didn't need to see them. It was just that was where I could find that video of him talking. There's a lot of detail that has to be in there. There's a lot in the executive order. I mean, obviously, all executive orders have this little addendum on the bottom that this will not override or destroy any current law and does not violate the Constitution. If it's found to violate the Constitution, it can be thrown out and stuff. And there's standard regulatory procedures and public safety elements that override a ton of shit. Like, so again, it's a joke. I mean, they'll pat themselves on the back because, again, they are vanquishing a dragon that doesn't exist. Right? They're like, I've slain the dragon. And you're like, what dragon? The one that was here that was biting you a second ago. I wasn't being bited. Yes, you are. You don't even know it. That's the thing. It was an insidious dragon. It was a secret dragon, right? Not static. It shouldn't be snow. It's got to be a hidden message. Okay, that's a good point. Should be a bunch of QR codes. Aha! Very dense QR codes. Very smart. So yeah, the idea that they're going to do this, and I'm fine with this. He should absolutely, and fill your fucking boots, buddy. Go for it. I'll help you write it up. Because the more dense it is, and the more detailed it is, the more he'll violate it every fucking day. Just know that. And people are like, well, he'll pardon himself and blah, 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 blah. Okay, it doesn't matter. If he sets a standard that people have to be fired because of these things, then the people that he puts in all these departments are going to do this shit, and they're going to have to be fired. There will be a lawsuit of, unequal application of the law and all that kind of stuff that will come up that will be very easy. The more specific he is, the simpler it will be for him to violate the standard he creates. And if you're going to use the courts to go after people, which I think he plans on doing, you can't completely undermine the courts. You can't gut the courts. Beyond malicious prosecution and all that other stuff, that if there's an unequal standard and you can prove it because he's a dipshit and all of his people are, they do all their legal wrangling with crayons and hammers, it'll be easy to push back. Again, there's an element of ego in this dickhead that is his biggest Achilles heel, I suppose. Now, where is it? There's also this thing about, and I don't normally like to see my Nazis sad. I like to see them crispy, but no, like real ones anyways. But you don't want to see your even pseudo-Nazis upset, I'd rather see them angry, I guess, in that kind of upset. But look at the womp womp face already. I thought, dude, he hasn't even sworn. Shouldn't you have a 90-day honeymoon period after the swearing in? This is a video from Fox News. Laura Ingraham, Trump's agenda should be the Republican agenda. There we go.
Now for the hard part. That's
what I said.
Focus of tonight's angle.
Oh, by the way, Cornyn, Scott, Thune, these are the possible leaders of the Senate, but apparently this is him looming over them, and I guess he's mad at him. He's trying to see what's up his nose, and Thune's like, the breath. I don't know what the fuck this graphic is supposed to be, but, they needed a good...
All right, all weekend long...
They needed a good, turkey neck shot of Trump.
I was still kind of processing, like many of you, Trump's historic comeback. The bogus lawsuits, the frivolous indictments, the relentless defamation.
The absolute depth of the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein that went on far longer than we ever knew, and we didn't find out until a week before that they were buddies through his presidency, up till and probably past to the day of his arrest.
Kamala's $1.2 billion war chest. I mean, not even 2 assassination attempts could break him. Even his
1.5.
most strident critics are recognizing the opportunity he has to reshape Washington.
Don't play this clip.
He swept every battleground state. He increased his margins in New York and California. Trump is riding into Washington where just the political reality is that he is politically as dominant and strong as he's ever been.
Holy. Yes, and his brain is as spongy and full of holes as it has ever been. It's a great mix. Power and dementia.
Toledo. All right. Trump gained ground in 49 states and the District of Columbia.
But of course, the question is how much.
I would like to argue, by the way, that Democrats ceded ground in a bunch of those areas. And we'll get to that later. I'm not into rehashing what happened. If there's a recount, awesome, or something like that. But for fuck's sake.
Support can President Trump get on Capitol Hill? Because, look, he outperformed pretty much every Republican who ran this go-around.
No, he didn't. And pretty much doesn't work. He also underperformed Democratic senators. This was a bunch of split ticket shit going on, and a lot of it had to do with people voting on, like, I'll vote for him for president, but I'm voting for a Democrat to rein him in, right? That still happened. It didn't become less true.
Trump's agenda, which he specifically campaigned on, should be the Republican agenda. And his focus was not just the border, not just the economy, but our trade policy, our defense policy, too. So given that the GOP likely controls both houses of Congress, it'll be a narrow majority in the House, it's realistic that Trump voters expect his policies to be swiftly moved through Congress.
Yeah, but that would be stupid because, again, it's not like he got a 60-40. What was the highest? I forget what this was, but there was the Democrats at one point had, hold on. Let me see if I can check this out. Chat. Highest Democratic majority in Senate history. What was that? I want to say like large majority of Senate seats. What's one majority senators in the section Senate Democrats down 9, large number of seats held in absolute terms, 76 by Democrats and 16 during the New Deal. Yeah, so during the New Deal, Democrats had 76 seats, Republicans had 16, with 4 going, either way. And let's see, since 1959, 60% of the 60 seats, another 2/3 of the majority of the super dominant party holding 3/5 has happened several times. Only been 50-50 in August. Let's see, pro-administration senators, answer the first question. Yeah, so, I mean, the Democrats have done it a couple of times. We had like 57 at one point. No party has super dominant until the 56th Congress. Republicans held 53 out of the 88 non-vacant seats, 60%. Okay, that was earlier. 67 Congress. No, Democratic Party is super dominant, holding 60 of the 96 seats. That's what it was. The 73rd Congress, Democrats had 60 seats. Democratic supermajority continued through the 77th Congress, so they held on to it all through that period of time. Okay. Just clarifying.
But
somebody was in there saying you can't deport an American citizen. You can't knowingly, but you can accidentally do it. And if they don't have their papers on them, it can be hard to get back in. That's what happened during Operation Wheatback.
Minimum, and I mean a bare minimum, President Trump should be able to rely on Republicans that he helped to regain the majority in the Senate.
Right, but then the other senators who are going to be there long after he's gone probably don't want to go with everything he does so that they don't look like lapdogs to him, whereas the other people in certain states, because there's already a senatorial lead on the part of Republicans because they have more states than we do because they have low population states like the Dakotas or Montana or Wyoming. They get 2 senators while California and New York get 2 senators. So there's already a balance in this. This is not any indication that the vast majority of Americans side this way. Just saying.
They wouldn't have beaten Sherrod Brown without Trump. They wouldn't have beaten Casey without Trump. Or maybe not even John Tester without Trump. And under...
Yeah, that's 3. Still, and Tester, again, is in one of those states that has fewer people than Santa Monica, California.
These circumstances, especially, again, with that small House majority, the position of the Senate Majority Leader is even more critical. Now, just so you all understand this, and there's no reason you would have to know the intricacies of...
Yeah, I don't need to know the intricacies. I don't steer clear of everything that involves intricacies
of Hill inner workings here, but
yeah, the Hill is stuff of the swampy side. Who got Washington? Blah blah blah. I'll take your word for it, lady.
As a practical matter, no bill can get to the floor of the Senate, and no amendments can be put on that bill and voted on in the Senate without the support of the majority leader. It just does not happen. That's why Mitch McConnell is so powerful. Now, right now, there are 3 candidates for the position.
And it's 2-1 against the MAGA stuff. And Rick Scott apparently does not have Trump's support in this situation. It's a good look on his face. Hi. Why do all of these look like, all I'm saying is swipe left, ladies. I'm just saying.
Two of them, John Thune from South Dakota and John Cornyn from Texas, are both seen as disciples of Mitch McConnell, and both have a history.
You mean the guys with successful legislative careers as opposed to Trump, who passed one thing and that bill was given to him by Mitch McConnell?
Of being fairly critical of President Trump, who they'd prefer not wade into the internal Senate deliberations at all.
Right, because he's largely stupid.
My preference would be, and I think it's probably in his best interest, to stay out of that. These Senate secret ballot elections are probably best left to senators, and he's got to work with all of us when it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand why the Senate wants to preserve its independence. I get it.
Because it's got a constitutional obligation to have just that?
But at the same time, let's be real. They all owe their majority status to him.
Well, then, again, why didn't Republicans roll over when Obama had controlled the House and the Senate as well, because they all are in government and being led by him? Does not the king have a kingly crown or not?
Donald Trump. And think about it. When McConnell worked with the MAGA Republicans and the MAGA agenda, like on court nominations, the USMCA, the tax bill.
What? I'm sorry, the what? The USMCA. The root of the trade policy that Donald Trump is singularly going to attack. What do you think sealing the border and not allowing any vehicles or goods made in Mexico to come into the United States unless there's a reciprocal trade agreement between the two? Where the fuck was that supposed to have been worked out, if not the USMCA? Right? Why are we even talking about closing the border and all that kind of stuff, if from a trade standpoint, especially when his tariffs on Mexico and all this other shit, and it's like they're going to build all these Chinese factories there, and they're getting around the country of origin rules and getting stuff in the United States, something that the Biden administration has stopped. Why is that? Because the USMCA sucks. And it was negotiated by assholes. And you know that how he's like, we have this stupid trade deal with NAFTA, this stupid thing. We need smart people to come in and fix this. I don't know how they managed to do it, but they made the USMCA worse than NAFTA. They did.
Oh, they got stuff done. It was great.
Was it?
But when they're at cross purposes, as you saw with that Langford-Schumer immigration bill, that fiasco.
You mean the thing that's going to pass
or the
next year?
Absurd infrastructure bill.
I'm sorry. The absurd. It's absurd. What's absurd about it? I mean, we can take back all the red state shit if you want, because they're the ones that need all the, they're the ones with the ricketiest fucking bridges.
The results are just horrible.
Horrible. The infrastructure bill was horrible. Based on what?
The people have spoken.
Well, 65% of the people have spoken, and half of those people beat the other half of those people by 1%. Simmer down.
Trump has won Texas, where Cornyn's from, South Dakota, where Thune's from.
Yeah, Republicans always win those states.
3 times in a row.
Yeah, they're red states, dum-dum. Bush won them too. What are you talking about?
So it is.
George H.W. Bush won them. Ronald Reagan won them.
It's logical for voters in those states to believe their lawmakers will work with him.
Yeah, but I don't give a fuck. Because Rick Scott comes from the most populous state of all of those, and it's still like 4th or 5th, right? Hold on. We'll have to look at that one as well. Give me 1 second. Let's see. U.S. states by population. List of U.S. states by pop. It's 3rd. Okay, there you go. 3rd most populous state, ladies and gentlemen. California is number 1. You damn straight. and Texas, number 2. Florida, number 3. New York, number 4. And where's what is it? South Dakota and there you go. There's the Dakotas. They're not. Okay, Minnesota. Scroll down here. There you go. Yeah, there's fucking South Dakota has less than 1 million people in it, and let's see. Yeah, all the rest of the, like Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Delaware, Rhode Island, Montana, West Virginia, like fewer people in the entire state than, let's see. Yeah. So Los Angeles by itself has, in the greater Los Angeles area, about 7 million people in it, right? If you expand out into the San Fernando Valley and like, which I know that people make a distinction, but there is none. Every state below, including Washington State, below Virginia, has fewer people in it than Los Angeles. The city of Los Angeles, which has a mayor, not 2 senators, has more people in it than Washington, Arizona, Tennessee, Massachusetts, Indiana, Missouri, Maryland, Wisconsin, Colorado, Minnesota, South Carolina, Alabama, Louisiana, Kentucky, Oregon, Oklahoma, Connecticut, Utah, Iowa, Nevada, Arkansas, Kansas, Mississippi, New Mexico, Idaho, Nebraska, West Virginia, Hawaii, New Hampshire, Maine, Montana, Rhode Island, Delaware, South Dakota, North Dakota, Alaska, Vermont, and Wyoming. My point is, fuck the Senate in that regard. The idea that it's some sort of like gentlemanly agreement that land has rights over people is stupid.
Against him to advance the agenda, and certainly not throw monkey wrenches at it.
Well, the reason that they're not throwing monkey wrenches in it, what they're trying to do, pretty much is block his monkey wrenches. That's how they would view it. He's the one throwing monkey wrenches in a perfectly good machine, and they're trying to bat them away.
Now, we have an incredible, and this really is a once-in-a-generation chance. Charlie Kirk was right when he said that last week.
Yeah, but I couldn't really hear it because it's his voice squeezes through that face that's like this big, and then it resonates off his head. So there's this weird kind of, it's like his head sounds like a didgeridoo.
Make a difference in America, and to enact policies that the voters have been wanting for years.
Yeah, those things they've been wanting for years, but haven't seen, which are what?
We have no time to waste, which is why over the
Why? Because he's already a lame duck and his brain is failing him, and you're pretty sure that by like June people are going to go 25th Amendment time, but because it's a cult, nobody will let them sweep him out of there. So everything he says about Biden is going to come true in like the first 6 months of his presidency, and the decay will be overwhelming. Now, don't get me wrong. I think there's a very strong chance within 20 months Elon Musk has a chip in his head. But that, I think they should live stream the surgery. That's all I'm saying.
Weekend, Trump urged whoever gets the leadership role to agree to recess appointments because sometimes the votes can take 2 years or more on key cabinet secretaries and other positions, which is what the Senate did last go around. And Trump added, we cannot let that happen again. So John Cornyn is trying to get...
Yeah, because if he doesn't do it immediately, the Heritage Foundation people and the Federalist Society who wrote, Project 2025 are going to call in his marker.
Get around the recess appointments by promising to keep senators in session even over the holidays to get all Trump's people through. And those are nice words, and maybe that'll happen. But Trump does not have the luxury of time.
Why not? Doesn't he have 4 years like every other president? He had 4 years. I'm running in 2028. And granted, I feel like his last year in office, he'll be very busy if he's still around dealing with me. I get it. You're right. TikTok. And I'm probably going to have to start gathering my signatures, end of next year? Because I'm going to be, shoestringing this. I might have to do my show from every state in the union, starting end of next year, just go stay at, like every weekend go to a different state and start gathering signatures and all that kind of stuff, right? And so yeah, you're right. The clock's ticking, and especially with somebody like me gadflying and fucking shit up. Yeah.
And even if his agenda is stymied by the usual swampish uniparty maneuvers, the Republicans are going to get wiped out in 2026 and maybe in 2028 if they try to slow the agenda down.
Well, no, the other thing, too, and this is, again, why they might see this, is that if they jump on board with this shit, it's going to crash the economy, and they know this. And if they're totally on board with the agenda and it's driven by people who think there shouldn't be Social Security, for example, you're fucked, right? They're not throwing monkey wrenches in his machine. They're batting his monkey wrenches away from theirs, dum-dum.
And what, after everything...
Can I just run for president just so I can say dum-dum to her on the air? I mean, if Trump can call every woman in the world every god-awful name in the books, I can call her dum-dum, right? We can get away with that? You guys cool with that? Because I do equally apply it. It is a non-gendered term as far as I'm concerned. There's dum-dums of all stripes.
That he's been through, everything the country's been through, what a travesty would be if Trump...
He's been through everything. Oh, yeah, I remember when I was trying to get that new golf club and to be so I could sell it in all of the stores at my golf courses, and there was all these supply chain things. I feel him. I think a lot of people feel him.
Trump's historic victory is undermined not so much by Democrats in resistance, but by his own party.
Right, who apparently don't want to go down with his dumb ship.
How do you think voters would react to that?
Well, I guess in theory, the idea is that they would vote out those people, and you would hang on to your Republican majority because you could just get maggots and more, loyalists in there and stuff. Unless, of course, you're recognizing that a lot of what he's trying to do is garbage or bullshit or doomed to fail, and you just got to be willing to, go down swinging. Which is, again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Eva Braun of TYT. This is what happens when the right starts parroting the shit we hear as soon as a Democrat gets elected. It's the derp state.
Next time they hear in a call or an email from the RNC. And while we're at it, why are these Senate leadership votes secret anyway?
So they can't be bullied by the politics and they can vote their conscience. Same reason the rest of us vote the way they are. I mean, and because Trump's supporters are fucking psychopaths.
Look, if you disagree with President Trump, that's your right. Disagree with him on whatever it is, deportations or on tariffs on China. Why not, though, stand and be heard? Others have done that in the past. Let's not play hide the ball anymore. That's not what we're into. We never have been.
By the way, just so you know, they're not playing hide the ball. None of them have any.
No more killing essential legislation in committee.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? No? That ends today? Essential legislation's no longer getting killed in committee? Ma'am, I would like to suggest you bring on Rand Paul, I believe is his name.
President Trump deserves a fair hearing and a vote on the policies that he campaigned on relentlessly.
Right, and he won a 1 to 1.5% majority of the electorate that showed up, and he will get that kind of consideration like every president in our wafer thin divided government has gotten over the last little bit. We're by no means in the realm where the voters of each state are crossing into the 60-40 zone even when you win the state.
And if senators or congressmen, they take issue with what he's saying, then vote against those measures.
There you go. I completely agree. There you go. And when they vote against them because they have a real reason for it, you, Laura Ingraham, and all the folks over in MAGA world will leave them alone and go, at least they voted on principle. At least they did it out in the open.
And then let the voters decide the fate of those legislators or senators when they're next up for re-election.
Right. So So one thing we can agree on. Look at this. We're building bridges already. That's wonderful. Would you like to go get a latte, Laura Ingraham? How about this? How about no anonymous holds on bills at all? Because I got to tell you, Democrats are not going to have a problem saying that they're putting a hold on a bill. But boy, is Rand Paul and his ilk going to get pissed. Boy, is Mike Lee going to be pissed. Boy, is Ted Cruz going to be a big whingy puss.
Might be worth remembering Pat Toomey, or Jeff Flake, or Liz Cheney, or Adam Kinzinger. See it how it worked it all out for them.
See it how it all worked it out for them. Yeah, we did see how it all worked it out for them. Yes, they voted their conscience and they were driven out and they did what was best for the country, but they did it overtly and they ended up losing their seat to lunatics and idiots. So maybe that's why there's a secret ballot now. So that these people can vote their conscience without their constituents, like micromanaging everything they do or making them the target, quite frankly, of these big campaigns.
We don't elect senators to be part of a club.
You don't elect them at all except for your state. No other senator is your fucking business. They may all be in Washington, but they ain't your senator, dum-dum.
They're supposed to be representing the interests of their states. And the voters in their states have been very clear. They support Trump.
Right, but you also have to understand that the entire Senate structure is based on the idea that there are people that know better than you. And, like, again, if you're going to say that, if the people have voted and the people have spoken, then why don't the California senators have more of a say on panels, like automatically should get to head up all the committees because there's just more people? Why should the, 40 million Californians have to stand in line behind Thune or anybody from one of the minor states at all? Why does Montana or Wyoming or any of the Dakotas or any of that shit, why do they even get a place on any of the committees? No matter how long they've fucking been there. They only rep 600,000, 900,000 people. Right? Why? That would be my argument. Why should any senator with fewer people in their state than Los Angeles or New York City has get a committee chairmanship or a committee seat at all? I mean, go be a fucking mayor. And if you're going to tell me that, like, the people of Montana have spoken, like, I got news for you. There's like 8 states combined that have a smaller a smaller voting block than California does, and they've got fucking 16 senators.
The other candidate for the Senate Majority Leader is Florida's Rick Scott, who's been a stalwart supporter of President Trump since his first term. Scott has also said this.
How do we get Trump's agenda done? How do we get his nominees done? How do we codify his executive orders? That's what's up for this leadership race right now. We have a mandate.
Okay, real quick. The reason why Trump doesn't like him, even though he's a suck-up, is because he sees him as another closet case like Lindsey Graham. Whether that's true or not is immaterial. That's the way he views him. He just thinks he's not macho or strong enough. He'd rather have Thune in there or a dude from Texas. Dead serious. And do I mind when their own bigotry bites them in the ass? No, don't care. That's their fucking cross to bear, not mine. But the idea that this guy's going to be the people that he could even whip the votes in the Senate to get something passed or even understands it enough is part of the problem. He doesn't have any friends. He can't build any bridges and he can't make any promises that anybody trusts because Florida's this insular fucking space. That's why Marco Rubio ended up having to be Secretary of State. Just basically like, don't have him deal with the country, have him deal with foreign affairs because nobody likes him. All the Florida Republicans are, I don't know what it is about Florida, but it's like where friendships go to die when you're a politician. But none of them have any friends, including Trump. I mean, he's got sycophants and supporters around him, but not any real friends. It's the same shit here.
For change.
Why isn't Ted Cruz running to be the majority leader? Because he was teetering on the brink last time and nobody likes him. Same reason he is. Like, nobody likes him. And if you want to get shit passed, and especially if you got to crowbar it out of fucking Rand Paul's hands if he does an anonymous hold on it or some of these other people, you got to have something. You got to be aware of the leverage you have and be able to use it. And you have to be able to, like, go there without going there. You have to be a real deal maker. He's not. He just isn't.
So number one is who is going to represent all the Republican voters?
Bingo, of course.
Trump. Who cares?
Of course, he's right on that. But Punchbowl News is reporting that some senators who don't support Scott are annoyed and they feel bullied by the growing online chatter. Now, I was talking to my kids about this. We're driving around in the car. I said, imagine, boys, being a U.S. senator and feeling put upon by voters mobilizing online.
No. Again, it'd be okay if they weren't the Second Amendment solution people. We're not talking about just your average randos. Both of the people who were, one guy who did take a shot at Trump and the other guy who nearly did, if that's indeed what he was going to do, we don't know. Both of them were Trump supporters ultimately, and just were mad because he didn't go far enough. What the fuck do you think those kind of people are going to do to senators that don't vote with Trump?
I mean, isn't that politics?
It's not about being yelled at online. That's what happens on our side. Okay? People throw emojis around and shit on people and use hashtag Genocide Joe and shit like that. But it's ultimately a game. None of these fuckers are going to come up and shoot you. The maggots will. That's what they're worried about. That he's like tacit. That's why he said, like, on January 6th, they're not here to shoot me. And they built a gallows to hang his vice president. That's what's in these people's heads. It's not just online chatter, dipshit.
In the modern era, that is the town square.
It's not the town square. It's not the town square. You fucking commie.
Now, this all gets more interesting because Elon Musk, who's helping President-elect Trump, is supporting Rick Scott. At this hour, Scott's online army is mobilizing and flooding Capitol Hill with calls and emails, which, according to Axios, has left some senators livid and frustrated, with aides warning that it could even cost Scott votes.
Right. Unless we make them vote in public, in which case we can shame, blame, and endanger them into voting the way we want.
Again, the source, speaking to Axios, is anonymous. Typical swamp move. But if there's...
Okay, how do I know it's not from, I guess, Trump's own side? What if it's an anonymous person from Mar-a-Lago? Right? What if it's one of Rick Scott's people? What if it's Rick Scott's people saying he heard this? I give a fuck.
So livid, if they're so frustrated, they need to come on the angle and tell us why, that the American people shouldn't have anything to say about this, online or anywhere else. Again, no.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
No one is disputing the separation of powers concerns.
Yes, you are. You're saying that he should be able to marshal his House-like power to change the Senate. And in the case of, even though winning the edge in the Senate, he's got that edge is made up of a lot of people that don't support his overall agenda still. They're meant to be the sensible Republicans. And their term is 6 years and his is 4 if he even lives the whole time. That's always been the issue with senators. They know when they're elected, they will outlast the president.
But the Senate is not supposed to be run like the Bel Air Country Club, where a membership committee...
It is exactly supposed to be run like a fucking country club, dipshit. Each state gets to automatically pay their way in, and they get 2 members in that country club, whether or not they have the people in their state or not. It is absolutely a club, you weirdo.
Can blackball someone in secret. And I was thinking about this also. Notice how the Democrats always seem to stay united and ram through their priorities?
No, they don't. They really don't. That's why the infrastructure bill was bipartisan, dipshit. And also the priorities themselves, they actually do their fucking homework. They write the stuff up. They don't have the president going, on day one, I will come in and take the biggest crayon that smells like poop that I can find and scrawl onto some dry erase board what I want, and you will turn it into laws. And then it never happens because he doesn't follow through and he goes off golfing, and all these people are like, if we actually did this, it would destroy the fucking country. And they're like, we know. Wait till a fucking squirrel comes by and he'll forget about it.
So I say let's beat them at their own game.
You can't. You can't beat us at our own game, because you have to beat us at our own game, you have to legislate from the point of view that you want to help people in the long term. And you don't. You don't have the motivation to beat us at our own game. That's why the ACA is still there, dum-dum. What do you think he's going to do? Repeal the Infrastructure Act? Are you out of your fucking mind? You think he's going to cancel all those projects in all those red states? You think he's going to cancel like urban or rural broadband for everybody? Honestly, you can't. You can't beat us at our own game. You know why? Because you don't give a fuck. And you have to give a fuck to do the homework, dummy.
Let's unite behind the America First agenda that the voters have made abundantly clear they want implemented as soon as humanly possible.
Right. Because none of it's legislative. He didn't make any legislative changes. He made fucking Santa Claus. He promised everybody everything, shithead. Why wouldn't you be able to pass? This is what I'm confused. Maybe this young lady can explain it to us. But how would you not be able to pass a big, beautiful healthcare plan that takes care of people with pre-existing conditions and does everything better and brings the cost down and is so simple and fantastic and everybody will love it and it's going to be perfect if only 2 weeks would pass? Who couldn't pass that? Democrats had come on board. What do you think the difference between the Infrastructure Act when it was floating around under Trump and what it came out under Biden? I'll tell you what, almost nothing. It just had a couple of more Democratic priorities than they would have, asked for had it been passed during the Trump administration. But he could have passed it. Why the fuck didn't he? Because he's stupid, that's why. And he doesn't actually give a fuck. To get your agenda done, you have to actually give a fuck. And you know what that means? That means you got to suck it up during the parts that people aren't going to like. And he doesn't have the strength to do that because he's a fucking wuss. He's a walking nunt. That's why everything's 2 weeks away and it's going to be fucking gorgeous and everything is fucking Christmas. It's Schrodinger's law. You just like it's everything and nothing depending on what you look inside and expect to see.
And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean.
Oh my God. Yeah, it is. Like I said, is there dangerous, crappy things that Trump is going to do that endanger everybody and we're going to have to be careful and take care of those around us that are vulnerable? Abso-fucking-lutely. Is there going to have to be a structure put in place by people who give a shit to help women who are going through ectopic pregnancies and the like get out of states and get transportation to a state where they can be taken care of until we can codify this into law so that women aren't getting, fucking back alley abortions and shit like that? Yeah, there is. That's going to be on Democrats to pick up that slack on behalf of this, because I'm not willing to sacrifice women's lives just to go, I told you so, right? But in the middle of that, while it's all happening, this is something that they're going to come face to face with, that his executive orders aren't going to fix all this shit. And all this magical thinking isn't going to turn everything around all of a sudden and change the laws of economics by sheer fucking will. Right? Not going to happen. And at the very least, like I said, one of the silver linings of this motherfucker winning in this situation is that he can't say that the deep state was against him and all that kind of stuff, and that these are the exact same fucking machines as there were last time. Even if Tara's right and it's hinky and all that stuff, they still couldn't do it without that very thing, right? Do you think we'll live in a democracy? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And if we don't, it will be wrested back by those who care. Because if they really try to bring this, he's been running on, freedom, right? And the freedom of the freedom to freedom, right? That's what he's been running on. And the minute he doesn't, the people around him are going to get they're a bunch of paranoid assholes. All the Alex Jones clan, all that they're all fucking paranoid as shit. And the minute that water starts to boil again, Froggy's going to jump. Whether they blame it on him or they blame it on the deep state or whatever, but they're going to want to decentralize power for a fucking reason. And every time they try to centralize the power, which is what they're trying to do, ironically, and in terms of giving the administrative branch free reign, they're going to get pushback not just from us. They're going to get pushback from the right. And there's a lot of shit that once they start doing it, it doesn't sound as good once the rubber hits the road. And that's how I'm keeping my powder dry for the arguments about a lot of this stuff until they start making their case. Like we played the video earlier of Trump talking about how he's going to deal with censorship. I got news for you, motherfucker. He basically put out an arrest warrant for Elon Musk the minute he signs that fucking thing. So I'll be fascinated to see, how this plays out. But this is hold on one second. Judge Merchan is talking about freezing Trump's criminal case and going, we will hold this in abate until he serves his term because this is something to do with state law and citizenry. We will not interrupt his presidency, but he'll still have to serve time. Basically, you sentence him and you go, I will hold it in abate till the end of his presidency. If he turns out to be a good guy, he doesn't have to go to jail, right? That's what we're talking about. Okay, so here's Judge freezing Trump criminal case is not good news for him. And this is Turley and them. And I can't tell from this, because we're in pronoun hell with this, whether they think it's not good news for Merchan or good news for Trump.
Jonathan Turley joins us now as well. And, sir, welcome to our coverage. Fox News contributor.
What a douchebag.
A constitutional law attorney. Just one more thing on the politics of this.
Mm-hmm.
What Judge Merchan allowed Trump to do in the middle of this election was to give him a platform a couple times a day. The cameras are parked outside the courtroom looking down the hallway, and Trump took advantage of it every time he walked in and walked out. And every cable outlet covered it. All that stuff was distributed on social media.
Yeah, it was a nonstop stream of lies.
Yeah. You can crack on Biden for running a lackluster campaign at the time, but, Trump took the stage and took advantage of that moment. Jonathan, does this case come back when he leaves the White House in 2029?
Well, it can. It's a sort of a curious position to put the president in. Some might even view it as passive aggressive because you leave.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a very emotional thing. This judge, how dare he? Yeah.
Leave this dangling sort of Damocles over his head. And so his critics will say he's awaiting sentencing. And you make it more difficult to appeal some of these issues. Keep in mind that the sentencing issue.
Yeah, but the rest of us don't get to experience that. So he's got a special weight on his shoulders, period. And boy, he could go a long way by not being if he promises not to destroy the country, maybe we won't throw him in jail at the end of the 4 years. Just maybe.
Issue aside, and I doubt that
we'll consider it time served.
The judge would have sentenced him to jail time. This case has layers, in my view, of reversible error. I think that
this fucker's been saying this about every case. This is Turley's suck up to Trump idea. Again, it's all wiggle room. Now, granted, that's what a criminal defense attorney does, but everything about this is I don't know. Well, anybody can say that because it's never happened before. Because we've never had a pussy-grabbing felon in the White House that we're aware of.
Judge did a horrible job in this trial. He ruled regularly and consistently against Trump, and in some cases,
no, he didn't rule against him. He ruled in favor of proper procedure and against motions his attorneys put forward. Right? That wasn't against Trump. As a matter of fact, you could argue that it guarantees that Trump is treated like every other defendant and doesn't get special, dispensation just because he was a former president. I could flip that on its head too, asshole.
I think that.
By the way, why is there never a pushback to Turley about this shit? That ultimately a judge has an incredibly difficult task applying equal justice under the law to an unequal person. Donald Trump, by his nature, because he has a Secret Service detail that can't exactly go to jail with him and gets that Secret Service protection via an act of Congress, creates special circumstances around a ton of shit. And so a judge has an incredibly difficult time creating an equal application of the law in this circumstance because a chunk of the country bullied the judge into going, well, he broke the law, but he should be allowed to. We like him more than other defendants. The fuck is that?
He did commit reversible errors. So freezing this in amber is not going to be necessarily good news for the Trump campaign. I think they were eager to appeal this, to get a final decision and to at least appeal aspects of this. So there's going to be some maneuvering going on as to what can be still reviewed. In terms of leaving a case suspended for 4 years, it's just a very odd way of addressing this.
Now, you could do effectively probation, suspended sentence based on behavior. You can do that. It's a state charge. Fuck off.
The sentencing only created a conflict with the president's presidential duties if the judge sends limitations upon the president. I mean, he could have simply said, I'm not going to impose jail time or home confinement. He could even say that being president is equivalent to community service. So there's a lot of ways that...
Yeah, I think it would be how you do it, though, because if they give you a job like picking up trash by the side of the road and you spend that entire time you're on the side of the highway showing your dick to cars as they drive by, I don't think you're going to get credit for your community service.
He could.
And by the way, Trump is one of the people who views his time in office as community service less than any other president that's ever existed. Like he thinks the American people owe him this attention.
Have handled this. So I think as we play this out a bit, we're going to have to see what the Trump lawyers do. I don't know if they will.
Agreed. Thanks. I'm so glad they brought you on to explain that to us.
Necessarily welcome the.
Let me guess. They're going to shit the bed again.
The idea that they're just going to keep this thing sort of as a zombie case for 4 years.
Professor, stand by, and we're going to get to this whole issue that Andy raised about this political quid pro quo, which would be the ultimate, right?
That's right.
The ultimate pinch me moment here. So stand by for that. We got more.
Carrier Bond, you were in the courtroom for all of this that happened in New York City. Tell us what you think about the decision to delay.
I think the Trump lawyers had to expect this to some extent because, they did file just a few days ago saying that because Donald Trump is now president-elect, it raises all kinds of new constitutional questions that the court has to consider as far as both, on one hand, the immunity issue from the Supreme Court, but also sentencing, given that.
Nope. None of this immunity shit qualifies for the shit Trump did at all. Even the hush money stuff happened during the campaign before he was president. This is not a presidential act. This is all stuff he did privately afterwards. And the cover up afterwards does not, because the crime started while he was a citizen, does not become suddenly legal now that he's president. Fuck off of that nonsense. And even still, you could just throw him in jail for the shit he did before he took his oath of office. Go away.
He obviously, if he were to be sentenced to anything, wouldn't be able to execute that sentence because he will be at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. But a couple thoughts come to mind. One, I've been wondering what Governor Hochul is thinking. She has the power to pardon him in this. And it could be an interesting...
Oh, dear. Oh, baby, no. No. No, it's not... that's not a thing. Don't. Yeah, you can tell by her face she doesn't believe it either. No, fuck no. That's not happening.
Decision on her end. I've wondered if Donald Trump is having and his people are having conversations with her right now, because as we know, the state of New York, it's a bit of a mess as far.
Oh, I'm sorry. What are you going to do? Withhold storm aid or Jesus Christ? So the idea is that he'll try to get a state pardon out of her by squeezing federal aid out. He'll violate his oath of office to kill his state charges. Please, motherfucker. Please play it. Please. And the idea that she's not going to record every fucking conversation she has with him. Get the fuck out of here. Yes, do that. Try that.
As how they run law enforcement there. So I've wondered about that. But, look, in the big picture here, the thing that has always tremendously bothered me about this case is that I think a huge point of this was for the Democrats to get the talking point convicted felon. And the reason and the way
well, gee, I would have rather had it for a couple of other cases that were even deeper, but I got news for you. That shit's not going away. There's a bunch of shit he did, and just because he's president again doesn't mean that they become less crimes. Ask fucking Richard Nixon.
they were able to make him a convicted felon was to say that he committed this, these misdemeanors. He was covering up some underlying crime. And the real travesty in all of this is that we and he still don't know what those underlying crimes are.
Mm-hmm. I mean, effectively, it's defrauding the electorate. And that would be the federal charge. The state's not responsible for that. Again, I don't know why this is a fucking... Okay, everybody, Scoot, come here. Come here. Let me just scoot in here. This is how this works. Okay, a state of New York knows that somebody buried a body, chopped it up and buried the parts around the state of New York. And that's illegal. Disposing of a dead body and dismembering a dead body, desecrating a corpse, all that kind of stuff. And whether or not they murdered them, because it happened in Virginia, might be something that either the feds have to charge because they killed somebody and drove across state lines with a dead body, or Virginia has to charge for murder and finish their case. But you don't have to wait until they try their case and get through with it to charge this person for desecration of a corpse and dismembering of a corpse and improper disposal of a corpse and attempting to hide evidence that would pertain to a possible felony in terms of a murder, because the person, they know from the body that the person died of unnatural causes. You get that? Okay, so the state doesn't have to give a shit, and the jury doesn't have to give a shit about whether you murdered them or somebody paid you to get rid of the body or somebody hired you to kill the person or you killed them in passion. That's a trial that will happen elsewhere in a different court. But in New York, it's still illegal to chop up a body and scatter it all over the fucking state. And you don't have to prove that you murdered them or you were hired to murder them or somebody paid you to get rid of the body in another state to charge them with this. Do you understand? That's how this works. You don't. No court needs to know about a crime you committed that was federal or outside of your jurisdiction to charge you for the crimes that you committed in the jurisdiction. If it did, all serial killers would have to do is move around. And they'd always be ahead. Even if they were arrested, they could get out on bail because of the minor aspects of whatever case they did in the next state where they dropped the body off, because they probably get 6 months suspended sentence if they could bullshit their way through it, or even set up their whatever their methodology for getting rid of the body was, so that it's ultimately minor. They put it out in the street and run over it and go, oh my God, I hit someone with my car, and then they get charged for that there, and they get 30 days, and off they go, and they can do it again. It's stupid.
Because we weren't told. So Donald Trump became the so-called convicted felon, and we still don't even know why or how exactly.
Right, Carrie,
we know exactly why, and we know exactly how, and we don't have to wait for the state to charge him to know what the underlying charges are. It's just that the jury is not responsible for knowing what those are or judging whether they are true or not. They don't have to decide you killed the person or you didn't kill the person or you were paid to get rid of the body or you did it just for fun to charge you for desecration of a corpse and unlawful disposal of a corpse. Still a crime. And when you stack those crimes, each one of them might be a misdemeanor. But if you do 3 of them and they're 3 chargeable offenses, it might bump it up to a felony. That's exactly what happened with this asshole.
In the court,
I'm sure they're thinking about this.
You came on the air repeatedly. You were taken back by the absurdity of the case itself. And
right.
Yes, because that's her job, dummy.
Obviously, you
think? Hold on. You think Fox would send her to the court every day if she didn't already feel that way? For real. For fuck's sake, man. You think they're just going to roll the dice? Send somebody from downstairs over there to cover it. Yeah, but there's like 3 people down there that think he's a fucking pussy-grabbing scumbag. We'll roll the dice.
Opinion has not changed.
No, it hasn't changed at all. I still think it's a disgrace, and I wonder what...
She's literally quoting his word. Why is it a disgrace? A jury of his peers found him guilty for this. Why? Don't just say it's a disgrace. Tell me why it's a disgrace. And not just that the jury didn't have to consider the federal charges.
This means as far as the delay and what will play out in the coming weeks, especially with the politicking, so to speak, between Donald Trump and maybe the leadership of the state of New York.
Okay. I'm Steve Doocy.
Okay, yeah, there's no politicking between him and the state of New York, unless she is suggesting that he hold New York hostage if a terrorist event, God forbid, happens, or if they're hit by a major storm. Don't give them any funds unless she pardons you. Quid pro quo a fucking state pardon out of that, which is, by the way, a crime. It's 2 more crimes. Holding back funds or protection for a state from the federal government that is already pre-allocated by the Senate and the House is a crime still. You do not have the discretion to choke off emergency funds that are specifically allocated by the House and the Senate because you don't like them. That's a crime. And it does not fall under your, the president's duties, especially if you're doing it so that you can get a pardon for your criminal behavior in that state as a private citizen. And please make that fucking argument, dummy. You're going to talk about like Laura Ingraham, bringing these fuckers out and saying these guys have to be able to pony up and say what they're going to do and stand by their decisions. Then fine, motherfucker, have Trump go, I'll send the aid if you give me a pardon. I deserve a state pardon. This is a travesty. It's a disgrace. That lady on Fox News says disgrace all the time. So unless you pardon me on the state level, I'm not sending you flood aid for try it, motherfucker. Don't tiptoe around this shit. And every governor in this country, red or blue, better fucking record every conversation they have with Trump. Every single one. Because again, I don't know what kind of a fucking maniac would put themselves on the chopping block for his shit. This is okay, and then this is. Let's see if we can get. Yeah, this
Democrats are all.
Okay, hold on. So Trump's got a new border czar, and let's see. You come to California June 19th this year. By the way, you'll notice that there are all these people here who are being caught by Customs and Border Patrol. This is on Outnumbered. These people are not lining up to get a free pass into the country. They've been caught. They also, a lot of them have roller bags. And the reason they do is because the access road built while building the wall. Just reminding you. Yeah. So this is Trump's border czar sends fiery warning to Dems. Get the hell out of the way.
Well, Democrats are all.
By the way, what Dems are in the fucking way of this, by the way? According to these assholes, Customs and Border Patrol have just been walking these people through, going, I don't care. Biden's president. Go fight. Borders open. Do what you're going to do.
Already preparing to push back on former President Trump's planned migrant deportation program.
Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey is already declaring that her state will not comply.
If the Trump administration requests it, would the Massachusetts State Police assist in mass deportations?
No, absolutely not. Every tool in the toolbox has got to be used to protect our citizens, to protect our residents, and protect our states, and certainly to hold the line on democracy and the rule of law.
But the president-elect's newly named border czar, Tom Homan, says he won't be stopped by sanctuary cities or states. Watch.
Well, and again, yeah, you kind of will. By the way, if you want to set up the next Democratic president, and there will be one, with absolute administrative power over the states, if you want to blitzkrieg over states' rights and the borders of states, because the federal government has a right to use emergency powers to create a papers, please law in these states, fill your boots, man.
And look, I've seen some of these Democratic governors say they're going to stand in the way. They're going to make it hard for us. Well, a suggestion: if you're not going to help us, get the hell out of the way, because we're going to do it. So if we can't get assistance from New York City, and we may have to double the number of agents we send to New York City, because we're going to do the job. We're going to do the job without you.
Right? Yes. Do that. Send more ICE and Customs and Border Patrol people to New York City. And to do that, you will need the House and the Senate to pass a budget expansion. And to do that, you will need votes from Democrats to pass it, even with a majority. And to do that, you will get a bill that is closer to the bill that you saw before. And if you want anywhere near the money that you're going to need for these extra agents, because you can't just commandeer the state and the local police, which is what they're talking about. That's what this is really about. They want to commandeer the state and local police and commandeer the National Guard people to do this for them, so that he doesn't have to put it in the federal budget. And so that Republicans can't go, we're spending money we don't have. Well, guess what, motherfucker? This shit's going to be expensive. Not just the legal aspect of it, but the material aspect of it. And the idea that you're going to have local sheriffs and local cops having to knock on fucking doors of the very same people that they might need to service, who have, who witness or experience assault, robbery, all that kind of stuff. And if they become afraid to call the police, it ratchets up crime in all these places. They're going to go tell them to go fuck themselves. They're just going to have crime go up everywhere. It's a terrible idea. It'll entrench the crime in these places and make it worse. So have your own fucking people. If you can get it passed, get it fucking passed. Stop. And again, this is Trump trying to make other people do his fucking work for him, so he doesn't have to pass a fucking bill. Well, guess what, dum-dum? You're going to have to pass a fucking bill, or you're going to have to allocate funds from one program to another, or you're going to have to cut some out of your tax cut, or you're going to have to, here it comes, borrow fucking money to pay for more ICE agents, to pay for more Customs and Border Patrol, to pay for more Department of Homeland Security people, to hire contractors to do it, which are ultimately more expensive, because you're doing it in the short term, to go door to fucking door. And it ain't going to be in Massachusetts, motherfucker. It's going to be Texas first. And Texas will let you borrow some of their National Guard. They've already been doing it for the border. And they'll let you, some towns, I have no doubt, will be comfortable, parts of the outside of Dallas and Houston, for example. They're going to let you borrow some of their local police simply as informants. Because, again, that's where Trump was saying they know where all these people live. They know where the bad ones are and the good ones are. And it won't matter because, according to Stephen Miller, who's his deputy chief of staff, is it? I don't know. They're slipping around so much, whatever. But he's going to be in the deputy policy advisor anyways, in whatever area he asked him for. He's going to be the secretary of racism. Is definitely going to say they all go. So no, states and are not going to let you commandeer their National Guard if they need it for fucking flood recovery or to rebuild houses and shit like that, or for the Army Corps of Engineers shit that they do with them and the partnerships that they have. All these different states have all these different problems. And you're not going to hand over fucking rows and rows of police officers to go door knocking in areas looking for people asking for papers, please. Are you out of your fucking mind? Now, don't get me wrong. There are a bunch of people who would jump right on board with this shit. They absolutely would. There are police departments and sheriffs and stuff, but there's members of their departments that are not going to do this stuff and have every right not to do this shit, because they don't feel like walking around door to door asking Americans to prove they're Americans. And again, this is like, well, get out of the way. Well, motherfucker, she's not in the way. You're trying to commandeer her people.
Or with you.
And Homan defended the president-elect's deportation plan, saying that it puts our national security first.
President Trump has made it clear. We will prioritize public safety threats and national security threats first. If you're in the country...
All right, is everybody that works for Trump drunk too?
Country illegally? You shouldn't feel comfortable. Absolutely not. I won't feel comfortable if I'm in the country illegally. You shouldn't be comfortable either, because when you enter this country illegally, you have committed a crime. You are a criminal, and you're not off the table.
I love that, Steve. There's been a big...
And yeah, that includes everybody. And they consider all asylum seekers who cross the border before they declared asylum to be that to be null and void. Everybody TPS, everybody DED. They're going to start from scratch. And if you have a right to come in the country or whatever, you'll do it outside the country. That's what it'll be, remaining wherever the fuck at that point. But they're going to, first places they're going to start scooping people up is in red states specifically, because that's where they'll get the most help. New York and San Francisco and a couple of other states are going to, I mean, because it's not South Americans largely in New York and in San Francisco, it's a largely Asian that take up positions in the community. And if they went through and did a sweep of that, it'd fucking gut some of these cities, and they know it. And it's not going to look the same as what their people are expecting. But either way, you're not going to get the local police department to just kind of do your fucking job for you. And if you want enough people to pull off this giant deportation thing, you're going to either have to borrow funds from something else, which is more than likely he's going to lift it from the defense budget. He'll declare an emergency and that we're under attack, and that standard will be lowered to the fucking floor going forward. Imagine if you created, instead of declaring war, we started doing this like war on terror thing where we don't have to declare war. It's just overall we're fighting terrorism. Imagine doing that with domestic immigration politics. Instead of saying, okay, we've got different groups here for different reasons, visa overstays, migrant workers, people working under the table, those kind of things. And we just scrap it all and go, this is an invasion. Every one of these people is an enemy combatant. That's what they're doing. That's what they're talking about. And then that becomes the floor. By the way, Hal, when he'll have lots of federal money, Hal, when he shuts down departments he doesn't need, like education, FDA, housing, he can't automatically divert those funds. Those funds are allocated by Congress. They evaporate. You don't get to shut down the Department of Education and then build the Department of Education wall. It doesn't work that way. It can't work that way unless you eliminate the powers of the purse from the House and the Senate. And does anybody think the Republicans in the House and the Senate want to give up their power? See what I mean? But who will stop him? It doesn't matter. The check doesn't get written. The check doesn't clear. It's not like he can go over and fill a wheelbarrow with cash. You have to allocate the funds. And if you can't allocate the funds, they don't go anywhere. They evaporate. What he wants to do is eliminate the Department of Education and give a tax break. So what all the things he's going to eliminate, the idea is that he wants to give a tax break, and that's how he's going to pay for it, by getting rid of those things. Okay? That's the goal. That's what they're doing. He's going to eliminate elements of the FDA and elements of the EPA and elements of, and the entire Department of Education, that shit. And from that, he's going to save some money that he's going to pass on to the taxpayer, mainly his buddies, okay? So, but even, in this situation, he can't just take that money and put it somewhere else. It's allocated by Congress. That's Congress's role. Now, could they, we say we're not going to give a tax break to this thing, or we're going to give a tax break, and we're going to take this money from the DEA or the Department of Education, the DOE, and we're going to give it to you. What we're going to use for that, we're going to use for your expelling migrants. Yeah, but you're going to have to pass a bill that says that allocates it. It'll have to be a budgetary supplemental. It might be the thing that they fight over that shuts down the government, depending on how many votes they need or have. Because again, even though they have an edge, it's not a huge mandate in either house. It's you're within the margin of error of 54%, right? That's what we've got. Like 53, I think, is what they have in the Senate, more than likely, and we're looking at a hair's breadth in the House. That is not a stomping mandate. It just isn't. So there's a bunch of people there who are like, fuck, this could turn around. This could go the other way. And apparently, if there is any rigging going on, like people are concerned about, it's only for Trump. It isn't for House and Senate races, because a lot of these assholes got bounced. A bunch of seats got flipped. That's how it worked. So just to clarify, right? And he's like, if you're in the U.S. illegally, you're not off the table. Well, what if you were in here illegally and then you managed to become illegal? What's the line? Now, Donald Trump has said something in one of his most recent videos that said, like, going forward, if you enter the country, you're immediately blah, blah, blah. And that's the one where Laura and all these other people were freaking out that he's perhaps thinking about amnesty for everybody who came in during the Biden administration. How do you feel anyone should be able to come in undetected? No. I think we should have a functional asylum system. And I think we should have a high-tech element of our border. But the more you build wall, the easier it gets to walk around the wall.
Comfort that illegal entrants have enjoyed for quite some time now. The whole point is you shouldn't be comfortable.
I mean, isn't it amazing just to see that?
Also, what's the comfort part? I honestly don't get that at all. They should be nervous. They should be scared. They should be sweaty. Like, do they not know how these people live under the radar?
Transformation, that attitude, rather than the sort of nonsense we've had for 4 years. Just a quick point on the attitude of these Democrat governors. What Orwellian doublespeak there from the governor of Massachusetts? She's like, we're going to protect our people. Excuse me, you have people who are illegally here, they shouldn't be in the first place, violent criminals, assaulting, in some cases murdering American citizens, and she's going to protect the criminals?
No, she's not. The Biden administration, the Obama administration, even the Trump administration, everybody bounces the criminals first. The idea isn't to keep those people in here. And even the people you're talking about, the vast majority of them were youths when they entered the country. Even if it was new. Like the one guy who, Lake and Riley's killer, I think was 17 when he entered the country 2 years ago?
Just absolutely extraordinary.
He's a minor. He was a lone minor.
And that's what's been happening for 4 years. We talked about this last week, Harris.
No, it isn't. If it was happening like that, then this wouldn't be the footage you'd be seeing.
Absolutely extraordinary.
Why is there barbed wire? Why are these people being turned away?
And that's what's been happening for 4 years.
Why are people being lined up and processed and returned?
We talked about this last week, Harris, that indeed, where was the protection? Where was that strength during the last 4 years when our American citizens have been under attack? Well,
also, they haven't been under attack. There's been several people killed, like there have been every year, every 4-year cycle in our existence. Like, immigrants and citizens kill people. It happens. And by the way, if there's this gigantic fucking spike in people crossing, which there isn't, it's all encounters, which is, again, he gets to pretend he solved a problem that didn't exist in the first place. Like, look how he'll start talking about how these are encounters. These are the same people. This is one guy coming across 9 times during my presidency. We're kicking that guy out, and he keeps coming back through. But that's not the same. We don't have 9 people coming in because that's the reality, right? Let's be honest. He's going to start saying the stuff I've been saying about what was going on under Biden during his presidency. But even still, you've got at any particular time. I mean, there's multiple people that were killed during Trump's administration. It had nothing to do with border policy. It was just it's a big dirt border, and that's why we need high tech shit. Because if you create a wall, you create an access road. If you create an access road, the wall can only go to either private land or native land, And once it reaches an Indian reservation or private land, the wall stops. But the access road takes you right down to it. And that's what's going to continue to happen. And you can hear all these stories about these people, like they come down and they run right across my property.
And I would add to that, Emily, where was the compunction to use it if it even existed in the first place? I mean, where was the intestinal fortitude to look at the southern border? And by the way, we don't talk enough about the northern border, but to look at how porous our entry points on our country have been throughout this administration. Where was the intestinal fortitude to say, no, enough, we're going to do this the right way?
Well, they did. They were like, the border is closed. They went down, she flew down to different countries and spoke to them directly. They slowed the advance of this to a trickle. Most of the people that were backed up, again, these are encounters. These are people who were in the Mexican side of the border during the Trump administration under Title 42, that the minute they came across, they didn't process them at all. They just kicked them right out and they came back across again. And they created a conveyor belt. Title 42 creates a conveyor belt of drugs and human trafficking because nobody's tried on any of the shit. People do not get their legally sanctioned support. They don't get a hearing of any sort. They don't even get registered in a lot of ways. So they don't even get like, oh, this is the same person that came through. You keep breaking our laws. You're never coming back in again. After 3 times, they just like kick him out again. They're not even looking. At this point, his fucking... Even the stuff about like, we're going to kick out the killers and the bad people first. All you're saying to like, if an Iranian comes over here who's been sent by the regime to cause trouble, he can just commit acts of sabotage until he's caught and then murder someone in the process of being caught, and he'll get a free flight home. He won't be put in jail. He won't be put in Gitmo. He won't be, sent to a federal penitentiary. He'll simply be deported to his nation of origin immediately. You're just giving him a free flight home. What the fuck is that?
We want legal immigrants in this country. I just don't know. It's like she lost her voice, Kamala Harris. I'm not sure, but she was in charge. With or without the title of czar, she was the vice president who Biden picked to solve the problems on the border.
And
No, she didn't. She was helping to mitigate the traffic of what was effectively the caravan idea from South America.
Seems, Kayleigh, that...
Not the border. The border, by the time they get to the border, it's a different problem. Does that make sense? It's like trying to cure a zombie apocalypse versus just firing down from the wall as they're climbing up whatever place the prison or the high school you've taken over and turned into a fortress.
Messaging, that's what the voters...
I've been watching way too much Walking Dead lately.
Spoke. That message of not again, no more, and it's time to prioritize Americans, which Tom Homan will clearly drive.
Tom Homan...
How do you know?
...is incredible. Tom Homan is tough, firm. He's the guy to get the job done. I'm glad his borders are. But prepare for that man to be villainized and demonized, and Trump too, and Stephen Miller too. But here's the courage and fortitude and...
excuse me. I don't think they have to demonize it. I think I will describe it accurately. Also, Stephen Miller is a demon. I'm just saying. It's obvious. Clearly. The man has to sleep in a box filled with dirt from his home country. I don't know what else you call that.
What they could rest upon. 54% in an Ipsos poll said they want mass deportation. Public opinion has shifted. They stand behind the plan of the Trump administration. Because why? 8 million plus legal immigrants have entered the country.
No, they haven't.
50,000 pounds of fentanyl since Biden took office. That's enough to kill every man, woman, and child multiple times over in this country. 24...
Yeah, the same thing happened in the last 2 years of the Trump presidency.
4,000 Chinese nationals in 2023 alone crossed our border. That's why Tom Homan...
That we caught. We caught them. That means we're catching them. Again, every time they talk about, how many people crossed into the border, this is because the Biden administration was actually acting on all this kind of stuff. Trump actually has the nerve to fucking say there were no terrorists that crossed our border on the southern border during, 2019 or whatever it is, which means he just didn't catch anybody. Are you out of your fucking mind? And what he meant was terrorist threat countries or what have you, like countries that we regard as being, full of terrorists. Nobody from those countries came across. Well, that just means you didn't see any of them. Or they came in through the northern border. Or they fucking flew in and overstayed a visa. 9/11, anyone?
Conveys his message with so much passion because he has seen the risk that you all are at because of a lawless southern border. He may be villainized, but the American people are behind him.
Kaylee, your thoughts?
Well, I would just note that Fox is.
Well, again, the mass deportations idea of it sounds like, well, as long as they're illegal and they're criminal and they're violent, and if they're everything I hear that they are, and if they're rounded up in a group and kicked out, that's fine. But what about all the other stuff that goes with this, which again is the sort of stop and frisk across huge sections of the country, the papers please law aspect of it. And if they get it wrong and they pick up American citizens or the spouses of American citizens with them, or people who have an accent but don't have their fucking passport on them, and get kicked out of the fucking country and can't get back into their own country.
Bill Malugin has pointed out that Massachusetts actually has some of the worst cases of migrant crime in the entire country. Horrible case. It defies all logic and reason that the Democratic governor of Massachusetts would go on camera and defend those kinds of criminal migrants who should have been deported a very long time ago. And you're right, Kaylee.
Yeah, I don't think that's what she's doing. I think she's worried that you're going to commandeer her sheriff and her state police and her local police, and that nobody's going to call the fucking cops anymore from certain communities, and a lot of murders are going to go unsolved, among citizens because of this.
Vast majority of the American public stands behind the mass deportations. This isn't controversial. It's basic law.
Oh, by the way, no. I will give you that 54% are for the theory of they want mass deportations. It's how they are carried out that matter. That's the problem when you start going with mass deportations. What does that look like? Are you just busting people? What they think it is, and a lot of these people think, is that the people that are in New York City that are immigrants that have been flown up there, that are incorporated into it, have jobs, have green cards at this point, or the Haitians in Springfield, or any particular area where there's large communities of TPS and DED people, that those people are just going to be kicked out. That's it. That's what they think the mass deportation is, that there are these areas where there are 30,000 Haitians dumped outside a city and they're all going to go. That's what they think. And that's what it's going to be, just criminals and those people. And then there's going to be big open football fields that used to be, full of migrants that are going to be empty. That's what they think. And then the rest of the people that get scooped up in is just collateral damage.
Law enforcement. If you are violating U.S. law, you do not belong here. And so we'll see what happens in the days ahead. But I would imagine that the Trump administration is going to get pretty strict with some of these sanctuary cities in particular, not just sending a few hundred.
Yeah, but even a sanctuary city, they just don't check your immigration status. Some of them have stricter rules than others, but the thing is they don't coordinate with ICE on nonviolent crimes automatically. They don't go, hey, you seem kind of Mexican, and check when somebody gets busted for a DUI or something like that. They don't primarily send it. And again, these are different for every city and every place. That's why there's no singular standard for what makes a sanctuary city. But the biggest part of it is that if you're a murderer, they're going to pass you along. If you are engaged in criminal sexual assault or you're violent assaults, they're going to pass you along to ICE for deportation. They're just going to hang on to you until you finish your trial and then your sentence most of the time.
More ICE agents, but actually putting at risk the federal funding of cities and states that refuse to abide by federal immigration law.
Yeah, but those are the cities that pay the federal funds. They are. Where the fuck do you think you're getting the tax dollars from? Are the cities that are telling you to go fuck yourself? Because they're the ones with the biggest underground work situation, because that's where all the jobs are.
They should. And
look at the city behind you. Biden's America, motherfucker.
To your point, remember, it's Minnesota that has the largest percentage of ISIS radicalized members, over 27% from the former Democrat candidate for vice president's home state. And remember when Jen Psaki laughed at the notion of people in Virginia caring about illegal immigration? Yes. The whole point is every state has been a border state under the past administration. Hey, everyone.
No, they haven't. And she's laughing at the idea that every state's a border state. And no, it's fucking not. Every state is not a border state. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. Wisconsin, it's silly. Do you have Hispanic workers coming up in a bunch of those places? Do the states that have farms in them traditionally have a lot of immigrant workers? Yeah. Do you put any of the people who hire them in jail? No. So stop blaming the immigrants. right? One of the things that, and I think Democrats should call the bluff on this, that if one of the things you're really concerned about is jobs being taken, then Democrats should float bills that offer a fine and prison terms, like advanced fines and prison terms for any employer who's knowingly hiring undocumented workers. You know, if you have more than 5 people working for you as undocumented labor, you get an automatic 5 years. A year for every employee, minimum. No deferral, mandatory minimum based on that. And watch how the fucking backpedaling happen. And not just because, it hurts their bottom line across a bunch of industries, but because Donald Trump has done this at Mar-a-Lago and at Doral and all these other fucking places for years. They prefer legal foreigners to Americans. Because those people, if they're sexually harassed, keep their fucking mouth shut because they're afraid they'll get kicked out of the country. That's another big reason why they like legal foreign workers in a lot of these places, being wait staff and all that shit at all of Trump's properties. Because you can smack the waitresses on the ass and treat them like shit, because if they talk back, you can have them deported. But they're the law and order party, and, Jesus chose him. Jesus chose him to be the guiding light. I have to say, I am enjoying the infighting, and I am also looking forward to them backbiting during a bunch of this. We're going to have our work cut out for us, no question. But it will be crucial to keep track of those things, right? And do everything we can. And I will do everything I can on this show to point people in that direction, right? Wes is losing it again. Wes is always losing it. Wes lost it before he even had it. It's okay. He's allowed. He's the least of our worries. The thing going forward, I want people to watch out for and to pay attention to is who the actual that get in there and how long they last. It will matter, because I got to tell you, Homan will be in there for the run. Homan will make it, at least to the midterms, and I don't think they're going to shuffle him out because he fucks up the deportations and stuff. They want it to be ugly. They prefer it to be ugly. It is okay. One of the things you need to know too is that they want the deportations to look ugly. Part of the reason for the child separations was not just because they are cruel to those individuals, but because they want to scare people into not coming here. They believe that they think that being nice to people who were seeking asylum, for example, rang the dinner bell for people all over the world and made them go, oh shit, America's open. We can get in. They're being humane. And so everybody who thought they had a chance on humane grounds started heading our way. Right? That was what they believe. There's no reason to not come here because the place is fucking great. Ultimately, compared to a lot of countries in the world. So it's always a better situation, even when it's terrible, right? Comparatively. So a lot of these folks, they believe that it rang the dinner bell for immigrants all over the place. Okay. So part of what they want to do is make this look as ugly as possible so that it scares people from coming here in the first place. And they will use the number of that they say are diminished of people coming here as proof that worked. Yes, asylum is legal. That's a totally different animal. I'm just telling you where their thought form is coming from. I'm just letting you know. So they want it to look ugly. And so calling it ugly and racist and all those kind of things is not going to, they're going to consider that a success. Okay? That criticism is not going to shift anything. That criticism is not going to impact their decision about it. So, I just something to be aware of, because what I think also is it's important for us as this stuff happens to recognize how you criticize it in a way that actually has impact, because a lot of the criticisms that are natural to it and seem very obvious are the kind of thing that are going to scare people or are going to make them think it's working. This is the reaction we want. Okay? So we're going to have to cut some angles. Just letting you know. And and we'll talk about Pete Hegseth tomorrow on the show, because again, like they announce these things and then it's like the fucking Apprentice, where they, it takes them a little while to decide whether or not that's actually going to happen. Some of these are being floated, some of them are for real, and it's hard to tell, right out of the gate which is which. So I'm going to tap the brakes on who he's talking about. Because again, he's still got to get them confirmed through the Senate, as much as the Republican Senate might line up behind some of his people. You can expect that most of them will be there, but a bunch of them are going to have to be acting as well, and they're going to run into their own problems. So and again, you've got to address them as they come, not as, oh dear God, what if, right? We're going to try and be very detail oriented about this, because again, the abstracts don't work. How does Blue Sky work? Very much like Twitter. Super good. And my thing on there is just at halsparks.com. If you just look me up on there, that's my real site. That's my real verified. That's how you do verification on there, is that you align it with your website, and so people know that you own that URL, you own that website, and so that's the real you. Anyways, much love. Appreciate you guys. We will get through this, and it is up to us, those of us who can weather it and who can stand it, to hold the line for people who can't. Because I am not concerned about, I'm concerned about my family like everybody else is. I'm concerned about my friends like everybody else is. But I'm more concerned about the people who are downhill from this shit on a drastic level that I don't think people can even picture yet. So we got to pay attention to what those changes are, and you got to see it for what it really is, not for what you're afraid it is or what they say it is, because both of those tend to be a lot of blather and bullshit. And the more details like the thing we looked at with with Glenn Beck tonight, you'll see that once they start putting the details together, there's actually a lot of holes in that can be exploited. But you can't exploit a fear that they hand you and you make it the biggest cudgel because of your personal fear. Yeah? So, anyways, adore you guys. Appreciate it. Take care of yourselves and take care of something. And believe me, there's always, take care of somebody else. There's always somebody like that. There's always something right around the corner that just is. Every time we think, either all is won or all is lost, there's this big we're in an era of boomerangs, so just be aware. And those of you that can stay on your feet, you will be needed to get other people who are having a hard time on their feet again. And I'm glad if in any way I can do that. So love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. And also, I don't know if this was a thing, but I heard that one of his appointments he was going to appoint the kidney to be.
The kidney has a very special place in the heart.
Yeah, I could agree more, but I'm not going to.